So this is my last sermon on my life and faith and theological reflection. And I was thinking, if you listen to the three of my, stories or sermons, someone might have a question, is it going to be any better? Like the story of her life going to be better at some point? Well, I'll let you figure that out after you listen to this sermon. So this is from my life from at the age of 45 to current now. And past 10 years, probably, throughout my life, the biggest fall I experienced happened 10 years ago. That was the separation from my former husband that led to divorce after 2 years. I found that marriage, between the two people coming from different backgrounds and personality, if it lasts more than 15 years, I think that's a miracle. That's how long my marriage lasted. And, I had 15 years of marriage, and out of that 15 years of marriage, I had 3 beautiful children. And I didn't expect it will not last. No one expect their marriage not to last. But somehow it didn't happen to me. And I think, I don't consider myself as a victim or perpetrator. I don't think my former husband is a victim or perpetrator. We were just led to different directions over the years. And through that experience, as I look back and as I look at all of us now, I'm thinking it was hard then, but we made the best out of it. And it probably was the right decision to make. But as I said, it was hard then. After 15 years living as a wife of someone, as a married woman, that provides a lot of security, right? Sense of security. And leaving that and becoming a single mother and divorced woman was a new identity. And it was a difficult thing to deal with. So, I went through some tough time during that time. It was hard because I felt like I failed to live out my covenant. The covenant that I made, I vowed in the presence of God. So that was a hard, very, very difficult for me. And another thing that was hard was I created grief in my children that they didn't have to live through. So that was another thing that was really difficult for me. And living out faith with that sense of failure didn't lead me to, good relationship with God. Rather, I felt like I don't deserve love. And I felt like, I really disappointed God. So there was a period of time that I felt like there's a wall between me and God. Jesus said, I am the gate, and if you come in through me, You will go in and out and find the pasture. But a thief will come to kill, to rob, and to destroy. But if Jesus comes to you and you choose Jesus, you will have life and have it abundantly. But during that time, I feel like I invited a thief to come to my life so that the thief can really steal my love of God and then destroy my soul and kill the desire to yearn for God. I went to a retreat. During that time, even though I didn't feel close to God, I was always searching. And I was always looking for the ways that God will lead me. So I went for a retreat. It was January, very cold day. I was in Leachfield, Connecticut. There was a Wisdom House, that's a retreat center. When I went there, I was the only one there, so I did everything by myself. And I walked one morning, I was walking on the labyrinth. Do you know what labyrinth is? You know, we're going to have community labyrinth, by the way, pretty soon. I was walking on the labyrinth, mindfully, meditatively, and then I heard this voice of God asking me, what do you see? All of a sudden there was a question, posed to me, what do you see? So I was walking, looking down, and I was looking at the ground. There's some grass, there's some, ground dirt, and there's some rocks. And then there was a maple leaf right underneath the ice. It was frozen, stuck in there. And I said, there's a leaf in the ice, frozen. And then this voice said to me, that is you. So I stopped. Because it wasn't just that two words that come to me, that is you. It was the meaning behind it that struck me. God was letting me know that I'm frozen for the season. But later, when the spring comes, I will be thawed and I will have new life. That gave me greater sense of comfort, helped me understand where I was spiritually, and gave me hope that at some point in my life, this will all be over and all will be well again. During that time, what kept me going was my sons. They make me get up in the morning, make breakfast for them. I cooked every morning breakfast, hot meal. I didn't know people give their children just cereal or oatmeal. I was cooking every morning, giving them hot breakfast and, pack lunch every day. I did that 6 to 8 years, but that was what got me going. I went to school on time to pick them up, drop them off at the music lessons or sports games or practice. My life was totally around my kids' schedule, and that kept me alive. They made me proud, that made me loved, that made me accepted. And I had a whole village of people that helped me to walk through this journey of grief. They held me, they carried me. My therapist and my spiritual director, for 5 years, they were like 2 stones in the water to keep me off the water. Great awareness about who I am and why I was going through what I was going through. A lot of lessons that falling, that brought me back to upward. But then, this whole new journey needed some compulsion in God's mind, I think. Because there was still something between me and God that's really not like totally gone. And I always desired to have the intimate relationship that I used to have with God, but because I felt so failed and disappointing God, it was so difficult for me to come back as a beloved child of God. But it happened last year. I went to Holy Land. This was my first overseas trip after like 12 years raising children. And I had this, amazing gratitude that I am able to walk on the, street that Jesus walked, and, be with people that had, that experienced the presence of God. And one of the places that I really looked forward to going was Jerusalem Wall. The reason for that is, Jerusalem Wall was the remnant of the Jerusalem Temple, and that wall is the closest place to the Holy of the Holies, where God's presence was known to be placed with the ark. And if someone asked me, where is the one place that you like to go in Holy Land, that is Jerusalem Wall that I wanted to go. And it was the last day of our trip. We went to Jerusalem Wall, and we were like given 15, 20 minutes to just go pray and then come back to where people are, like the tourists, right? And I had my prayers written, and I folded my paper, and I waited until there's an empty spot. And I walked up to the wall, and it's, all these stones, big stones, and, there's a gap between the stones. That's where people put their, paper prayer in there. So I was sticking, it to the, between the stone, and I was thinking, it just popped in my mind. I wish that there's a gap between, me here and on the other side, so I can directly speak to God and God can directly speak to me. It was all metaphor. I mean, in the other side is, something different. So I had that desire. I wish I can have a direct communication with God. And that's when I put that paper and I put my hand and head on the cold stone. And that's when, I'm so sorry. That's when I heard this voice of God greeting me. Never expected this, greeting me, saying, "Shalom, my daughter." And that was it. There was no other word that was necessary. Shalom is the greeting that wish you the well-being of your body and mind and soul. And by saying "my daughter," Do you remember the first call that I got? You know, God called me, "You are my beloved daughter." So God had a way to bring me back, telling me, "All I wish for you is your well-being of your body and mind and soul. No matter where you are in your journey, no matter how you feel about me or you, no matter how much you feel like you're a failure, I wish you well-being. I wish you shalom. I wish you well, my daughter and my son." That did it. Somehow that encounter with God miraculously brought me balance. You know, people were saying like, "Something's different about you after my trip," because I was different. Somehow the balance that I didn't have was totally balanced. And I didn't need anyone to nudge me, anyone to staff me, anyone to, do this. But I was able to maintain my balance because what I realized was God intends us to have a good life, shalom. But often what happens is we let the thief come and steal it. So at that moment, I made my word to God. I am going to take this shalom with me, put it in my heart, and will not let anybody steal it. This is God's shalom for me directly, and I cannot let anybody take it away. Well, this shalom, when you want to live out shalom, there's a choice that you need to make. You either take shalom or distraction. This is not about, choosing between ice cream and cake for dessert, or how you spend your time watching TV or shopping. This is rather about choosing between life and death. This is about choosing justice and injustice. This is about choosing between construction, building up, or destruction. This is about choosing between rumors and truth-telling. Every day we are challenged to make choice for shalom, for life, so that we can have the life abundantly, just as Jesus has given to us. So my story ends, at least a happy ending so far. And I'm hoping that my balance will continue, and I will continue to have good story to tell you, the encounters with God. And it is your turn now to tell me what your encounters with God have been and what you learned about God, so that I can understand the God that I never experienced. Choose life, because God has given to you, Jesus has promised to you, you're entitled to have life. Not just life, but have it abundantly. Have it abundantly. May shalom of God be always with you. Amen.